Barely. Hey, is there a camera I look into? Good morning, beautiful people. Can you hear me? Okay. Oh, I tested negative. You're right. I don't have to wear this. Okay. Yay. Okay. Good morning, beautiful people. All of you out there in Zoom land as well. Hi. Welcome to, okay, this is my first time doing this and I thought I had it down. Okay, the centering thought. We begin with the, oh, what do I do? Welcome, the welcome? Right. Down there. Okay. I'm going to read welcome number 1. Good morning and welcome to the virtual Zoom gathering of Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship Sunday worship service. We are making progress toward hybrid in-person services that will have people in the sanctuary and as well as streaming options for those unable to attend. Right now, we are Zooming and streaming at the same time. Yay! And please be patient as we continue to learn and grow into our new format. We are recording today's service and we'll turn it off for our community gathering after the service. And now, to help us enter to a spirit of unity, let us turn our minds and hearts to listen to our prelude.
Good morning. This is Starlight by Margaret Ruthven Lang. And hold on one sec. She was born in 1867 and she lived all the way till 1972, but she wrote all of her music basically by the age of 30. And she was the first woman to have a piece performed by a major symphony orchestra. So this is from the 1890s. Starlight. Sorry, Starlight.
Thank you, Barbara. You always bring us such original and unusual music, and it's really appreciated. Okay. Welcome again to the Sunday morning virtual worship service of Summit UU Fellowship. We are a liberal religious community bound together by shared principles drawn from world religions, humanist teachings, nature and science, philosophy, and personal practices. We are a religion of love and inclusion. The mission of Summit is to commit ourselves to building a more compassionate, just, and sustainable world. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism or to Summit and would like to know more about us, we invite you to go to our website, summitUUF.org, click on the visitors button, and fill out our online connection card. Someone will follow up with you. Also at the end of, for those of us here, at the end of the service, there's our principles and values that will fill you in a bit more about what we are striving toward. We want to acknowledge that our fellowship resides on unceded Kumeyaay land, and that for more than 10,000 years, this land has been and continues to be home to the Kumeyaay people. We recognize the violent history of colonization in California and honor the legacy of the continuing presence of the Kumeyaay Nation. So we have a chalice lighting, and I will read the chalice lighting, and Mark Weedman will light the chalice. The flame of fire, the flame of gas, lit lighting devices, the flame of fire, the spark of the universe that warmed our ancestral hearth, agent of life and death, symbol of truth and freedom. We strive to understand ourselves and our earthly home. We are so glad you've chosen to join us this morning for a time of connection and reflection. We invite you to stay after the service for our community gathering, where we will have a chance to give feedback to the minister, speaker, or share a joy or concern with the larger group. Let us stand as you are able, physically and willingly, and join together or sing while muted. Those of you on Zoom, and our UU hymn, both in English and Spanish, to reflect the multilingual culture of our region. Okay. Now we have a time for all ages with Mary Cartervale.
We're going to read the aspiration.
Oh, aspiration. Forgot about that. Sorry. Oh, I guess I didn't put it in here. What? Sorry. May love be the spirit of our fellowship. May for truth be its sacrament, and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. Thank you, fellowship, for helping me with that. Okay. So, Mary Cartervale.
Hi, good morning. I want to thank Jenny for bravely being our service associate for the first time. I mean, that takes courage. It takes courage and grace for as we deal with whatever the various things are that come up. Grace, put that down there. So, I'm wearing my badge of courage again. Last week, I talked about courageous love that Unitarian Universalists use by following our principles. Got that for me? So, and there they are. There's my little graphic that I made. There are 8 principles that we use at Summit that we aspire to imperfectly do our best, right? So today I'm going to talk about courageous questioning. Questioning. Does anybody here like to ask questions? Either here or online? Yeah, a lot of hands have gone up. A lot of questioners. So why courageous questioning? Why is that a courageous act? Children ask why, right? Why this? Why that? They're curious. They wonder. That's their job to wonder, right? And one of the things that I always say when I'm working with children, youth, or even adults, the only silly question is one that you don't ask, right? Right? It's the only, so sometimes you have a question and you think, ooh, I don't know if I want to ask that. That seems silly. But how are you going to figure it out? Right? If you don't ask. So questioning, I want to argue, is a spiritual practice for Unitarian Universalists. Would you say that? Is it a spiritual practice? Ask questions? Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we hold each other as we question. That's what we do. We use these as a guide. This is not like canon law. This is a guide, right? So it's there to support and hold us as we ask the questions. And we in the spiritual community, the fellowship at Summit, being in person or virtual, what we do on Sunday mornings is we hold each other in wonder and question, depending on whatever the speaker is sharing with us, whatever the community is sharing with us, whatever challenges we face, we question, right? So now seeking the answers. So we question to learn to understand, we're seeking answers. And the seeking of the answers is the practice, even if there's never an answer. Like I was just talking last week, 2 weeks ago, our story was, what is God for our children? And we were talking about what is God. And it was amazing, the diversity of thoughts that came from the kids. So I was like, God's nothing. There's no such thing. And others were like, wonder, and that is the whole thing. It's not living with the knowing. It's living with the wonder. So there's tests and test taking all through life where there are definite right and wrong answers, right? Fill in that bubble. If it's not perfectly filled in, it's the wrong answer. That is not how real life works. That is not how our heart works. And that is not calling us to be courageous, to just fill in the bubble, right? We want to know why. We want to ask those questions. And as a lifelong Unitarian Universalist, I'm a lifelong questioner and a lifelong learner. My brain's always picking up new things and learning new ways of being. And I want to just lift that up as a spiritual practice for Unitarian Universalism. We are lifelong questioners. We're constantly living in that beautiful space of, I wonder, and not knowing just fine. That is my curiosity for you today, as we are being courageous together. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Now I'd like to we're going to head back, and I just saw another one of our families arrive. So we're going to go back to RE, and I hope you all enjoyed questioning with Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. All right. Now it's time for we're going to have a responsive reading. It's number 650 in the gray hymnal for those of you here. And you can read it. Well, yes, you can't read it home, so you'll just have to listen to us. 650, and Mark will read the print, the normal print, and I will read with you all the italics.
Cherish your doubts, for doubt is the attendant of truth. Doubt is the key to the door of knowledge. It is the servant of discovery. A belief which may not be questioned binds us to error, for there is incompleteness and imperfection in every belief.
Doubt is the touchstone of truth. It is an acid which eats away all.
Let no one fear the truth, that doubt may consume it, for doubt is a testing of belief. The truth stands always and unafraid. It is not shaken by test. For truth, if it be truth, arises from each testing stronger, more secure. Those that would silence doubt are filled with fear. Their houses are built on shaky sand. But those who fear not doubt and know its use are founded on rock. They shall walk in the light of perfect knowledge. Their hands shall be built. Therefore, let us not fear doubt, but let us rejoice in its help. It is to the wise as the staff to the blind. Doubt is method of truth.
We're going to sing hymn number 318, and Pierre Vaughn's going to lead the way.
Hi, I'm just leading the way. So that means everybody's supposed to. We would be one, and now we join in singing our hymn of love, and pledge ourselves anew. That high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show the world a new community. We would be one to build a good tomorrow, a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning, cleanse our hearts and voice us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Thank you, Pierre. Great to hear your voice. We are a fellowship supported entirely by voluntary generosity of our members and friends. And we greatly appreciate our faithful pledgers who continue to keep up their monthly pledges. Our Sunday donations are down again, and we would be most grateful if you would consider making a contribution today. It is now easier than ever to contribute to our virtual plate today. The link will be found in the chat box, and it will take you directly to the donation location. And now we will gratefully accept your generous donations during the musical interlude.
I'm playing two short pieces by contemporary composer Lowell Lieberman. These were written in 1994 from the album For the Young, and this is Starry Night and Lullaby.
Today's reflection will be given by our beloved Mark Weedman. He's our beloved employee and dedicated to Summit for such a long time. And we very much cherish him. So he's going to speak today on Einstein's God.
Thank you, Jenny. Good morning. So this reflection borrows on two sources with the same title. Walter Isaacson's 2007 biography on Albert Einstein includes a chapter entitled Einstein's God. And Todd McAllister's 2008 short volume titled Einstein's God, A Way of Being Spiritual Without the Supernatural, is an easy read that presents more like a meditation than an academic analysis. Today, I'll cite some of Einstein's statements on some questions regarding God and invite each one of us to consider the implications. I also want to affirm the freedom we claim as Unitarian Universalists to try on our own answers. Both the religious orthodox and many confirmed atheists have claimed Albert Einstein as one of their own. But he was neither a conventional believer in a personal God, nor a purely secular non-believer. I suggest that he was a heretic in the best sense of the word. He chose his views as he resisted both the camps of conventional religion and an inflexible 20th century atheism. I'll quote him a handful of times. I'd invite each one of us to pay attention to the language Einstein used to describe his feelings as he beheld the universe. And I'd like to dedicate this reflection to early circles of Summitarians in the first years of this fellowship, who as individual UUs claimed their own views and resisted groupthink on questions regarding religion and the prospect of God. I honor the explorations of the early Summit groups, such as the Free Thinkers, including Wendell Rollins, John Kerry, Bob Moore, and John Duffy. Beyond the Path gatherings, led by both Ned White, but also Carol Rollins. And the earliest iteration of a Summit book group led by Kathleen Gurnett and Ben Harder. These are all powerful examples of people being able to speak their own truths to big questions. All of these meeting groups were explorations considered adult education gatherings in Summit's early years. And if you're interested, a more detailed description of these groups of questioners and searchers can be found in Bob Moore's A View from the Summit. There are copies in the library. So I offer my gratitude to early Summitarians who engaged in dialogue on matters of belief and non-belief. I call on their examples and a Summit tradition that makes room for a variety of ideas. My prayer today is that we continue to make room for each of us to explore and share. I submit Einstein was a religious non-believer and humanist of deep conviction. Einstein's religiosity provides fertile ground for the coexistence of science and religion. In numerous statements over the course of his later years, Einstein reflected a spiritual exploration that, although provocative at times, was profound and sincere. To use Unitarian Universalist language, his search for truth and meaning was humble and humane. Einstein affirmed the inherent worth and dignity of others on matters of belief, even as he disagreed with both the notion of a personal God and the firm conclusion that there is no God at all. Because Einstein is best known for his contributions to theoretical physics, one could assume that he was just another narrow believer in empiricism and materialism and nothing more. Yet Einstein sensed something beyond the measurable. The diary of Count Harry Kessler lists this quote of Einstein's sense of belief. Behind all the discernible laws and connections, there remains something subtle, intangible, and inexplicable. Veneration to this force beyond anything that we can comprehend is my religion to the extent that I am, in fact, religious. In 1927, Einstein received a request to answer the question of God from a Mr. M. Scher, who was fielding answers to the same question from numerous other Nobel Prize winners. Einstein scribbled this response, quote, I cannot conceive of a personal God who would directly influence the actions of individuals or would sit in judgment on creatures of his own creation. My religiosity consists of humble admiration of the infinitely superior spirit that reveals itself in the little that we can comprehend about the knowable world. That deeply emotional conviction of the presence of a superior reasoning power, which is revealed in the incomprehensible universe, forms my idea of God, end quote. In 1930, Einstein wrote in the New York Times Magazine of a cosmic religious feeling. This outlook was devoid of, quote, any anthropomorphic conception of God. The individual feels the sublimity and marvelous order which reveals themselves both in nature and the world of thought, end of quote. Although he did not believe in a personal God, Einstein often used terms like humble, sublime, presence of a superior power, marvelous order, and sometimes just said, my idea of God. This was someone who said over and over to the press and philosophical challengers on all sides that he believed in Spinoza's God. Baruch Spinoza was a 17th century Dutch philosopher of Jewish heritage. Spinoza tied his observations of the physical universe to his belief in God as equal to the material universe. Spinoza's pantheism and radical criticism of the Old Testament resulted in Spinoza receiving a harem, the highest ecclesiastical censure in the Jewish tradition. Although Spinoza never claimed there was no God, he was shunned by his religious community in Amsterdam and labeled an atheist. His ideas of God were too great a challenge to the religious orthodoxy of his culture and time. Einstein acknowledged being instructed in Judaism and Christianity as a boy. In an interview with George Viereck in spring 1929 in Berlin, Einstein acknowledged his Jewish heritage, but also admitted that he was enthralled by the luminous figure of the Nazarene, and that he felt the presence of Jesus when he read the New Testament Gospels. But in the same interview, Einstein dismissed the simplistic, do you believe in God, as involving, quote, vast dimensions beyond the limited minds of human beings. 90 years ago, Einstein felt human beings did not understand the universe well enough to say it constitutes proof that God exists or doesn't exist. Later in the interview with Viereck, Einstein went on to admit that he was a Spinoza-informed determinist who rejected free will. When Viereck asked how he got his ideas, Einstein said, I draw freely on my imagination. Imagination is more important than knowledge. On numerous points, neither the strict religionists nor the firm empiricists were very happy with Albert's philosophy. In October 1930, Einstein issued his What I Believe essay in the Living Philosophy series of the American publication, The Forum. Einstein covered many topics, but the last two paragraphs of his statement of belief address the questions of religion and God. Quote, "The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. This insight into the mystery of life, coupled though it be with fear, has also given rise to religion. To know what is impenetrable to us really exists, manifesting itself as the highest wisdom and the most radiant beauty, which our dull faculties can comprehend only in their most primitive forms. This knowledge, this feeling, is at the center of true religiousness. In this sense, and in this sense only, I belong to the ranks of devoutly religious," he said, man, we'll say people, "belong to the ranks of devoutly religious people. I cannot imagine a God," he goes on, "who rewards and punishes the objects of his creation, whose purposes are modeled after our own. A God who, in short, is but a reflection of human frailty. Neither can I believe that the individual survives the death of the body. It is enough for me to contemplate the mystery of conscious life perpetuating itself through all eternity, to reflect upon the marvelous structure of the universe, which we can dimly perceive, and to try humbly to comprehend even an infinitesimal part of the intelligence manifested in nature." End of quote. Einstein's indirect descriptions of an impersonal cosmic spirit provoke criticism and even some condemnation at times. What follows is my favorite story of Einstein dancing around the yes-no two-step of framing questions on the existence of God. In 1929, the Catholic Cardinal of Boston, William Henry O'Connell, publicly accused Einstein of being confused and using, quote, "befogged speculation about time and space to cloak the ghastly apparition of atheism." The Orthodox leader of New York, Rabbi Herbert Goldstein, also jumped into the public fray. The rabbi sent a very direct telegram to Einstein. "Do you believe in God? Stop. Answer paid. 50 words. Einstein used 31 words to give a famous version of the answer he gave often. "I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the lawful harmony of all that exists, but not in a God who concerns himself with the fate and doings of humankind." Yet many people were satisfied with Einstein's response to his inquisitors. The idea of an impersonal God had some respectable tradition in Europe and America. Spinoza's God approximated the deism of some American founders like Jefferson, Paine, Washington, and Franklin. Another of Einstein's statements is found in his essay from 1930 that appeared in the New York Times Magazine. Quote, "Cosmic religious feeling is without any anthropomorphic conception of God. This kind of religious feeling knows no dogma and no God conceived in man's image." I'd like to reflect on why this matters to me as a religious liberal rooted in Unitarian Universalism. I was raised Catholic. I was educated in Catholic schools. I experienced a race to answer these questions ASAP, as a yes-no choice. The approach not only felt rushed at times, but I felt the pressure to give correct and final answers. As a budding questioner in an Orthodox religious setting, I began to claim 3 points of operation. that I think Einstein implied to varying degrees in his search for truth and meaning. Today, I claim these points out loud. The first is that I do not have to agree that such questions put me on the clock. Yes, I am mortal, but I will not be hurried on such questions. I believe these questions are not a time's up, pencils down test. The question for me is better left open. Furthermore, I reject Pascal's wager. The 17th century French mathematician and philosopher Blaise Pascal argued that a rational mind should conclude that God exists just to be safe. The wager ensures that if there is no God, then according to Pascal's wager, my loss is only in this lifetime and relatively minor. But if I choose not to believe, and because of my choice, God sends me to hell for eternity because I chose incorrectly, then I lose big time. But I think Einstein and I would have seen heart to heart on this. Pascal's wager is a notion born of human fear of the unknown. It would be intellectually dishonest for me to acquire spiritual insurance against an eternal damnation in which I do not believe. That is not the religion I choose. Second, I reserve the right to change my answers to the questions of religion and God as I choose. And that's borne out in my experience. I never would have gotten to Summit if that weren't the case. I also reject the determinism of Spinoza and Einstein, and I claim free will. I acknowledge causality and understand how some folks become determinists. But as a religious liberal, and particularly as a Unitarian Universalist, I believe that my choices are real and that those choices matter. Third, I can consider more than one idea about the nature of God at a time. I remain open to the possibilities of God and also cherish my right to doubt any belief. Belief and non-belief can and do exist without one shaming or canceling out the other. However limited our capacity to reason and understand the universe through rationalism and empiricism, there is plenty of room in my heart for faith and doubt. For me, belief and non-belief are companions, not opponents or enemies. A final note. I admire the care Einstein took not to scold or shame others for believing in a personal God. And to FYI, to some extent, Spinoza did the same. If anything, Isaacson's narrative suggests Einstein made an effort to remind the atheists in the room not to denigrate believers. I take that as humane instruction from this religious non-believer. It is a wisdom implied in our UU principles of an affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And also evidence of promoting a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. I am exploring, as are you. Perhaps we walk the same road for a stretch, but it is okay to travel divergent paths when considering the questions of the universe. Who knows? Our questions might meet again, and our answers could cross again. Let us be good companions who encourage each other further into the exploration. May it be so.
Thanks, Mark. That was well done. Very well done. All right, we are going to read, or no, we're not. We're going to sing. And Pierre is going to help us again. Sing hymn number 346 in your gray hymnal. Come sing a song.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
All right, that's a song for a tenor, not an alto. It's all over the place. Okay. Closing words and the extinguishing of the chalice. Mark, do you want to extinguish the chalice? We receive the fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts that they are, and renewed by their grace, move boldly into the unknown. Please stand as you are able to join in the singing of our closing circle song.